Welcome to Sustainability Now, an exploration of technologies and paradigms to shape a world that works. Designed for socially conscious entrepreneurs and individuals interested in responsible stewardship of the planet. Sustainability Now covers food, energy, housing, water, waste, health, economics, and consciousness. Welcome to your community, Sustainability Now, with your host, Mira Rubin.
Welcome, everybody, to Sustainability Now, technologies and paradigms to shape a world that works. I'm your host, Mira Rubin, and I am delighted to welcome our guest, GuruSimran. GuruSimran has been practicing and teaching Kundalini Yoga since 1980. That's 38 years, which is hard to believe. Awesome. And she has a private practice as a coach and hypnotist in which she deeply integrates the yogic practices and is working with all kinds of people, but specializes in folks that are challenged with depression and burnout. So welcome, GuruSimran. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Mira. It's a pleasure to be here. I think this is lots of fun. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are so welcome. We're thrilled to have you. So let's just start out by talking about why on a program about sustainability are we talking to someone who is a coach and yogini. And so the truth is that we live pretty frantic lives, most of us, and we're faced daily by stresses and challenges in our lives, and are really required to find a way to maintain ourselves to our greatest ability in order to function, let alone to go beyond. And here at Sustainability Now, we believe sustainability begins between the ears. So by shaping the way we think and we feel and our wellness, we're better citizens on the planet. So tell us, you have all these amazing techniques for moderating stress and transforming our well-being. And in fact, there's so many things to talk to you about. I mean, Kundalini Yoga is a very specialized form of yoga. And I thought maybe, would you start out by just giving us some background on what distinguishes Kundalini? And then we can talk about some ways that we can employ it in a daily practice for ourselves.
Yeah, I would be happy to. And you talked about sustainability. And it's very true how practicing Kundalini Yoga can keep you in a very contained and optimum level of productivity and creativity. It's called containment and contentment.
Ooh.
And those two things really work together so that you are contained and content. When you are contained and your emotions and your nervous system, your glandular system, your mental capacity, your spiritual enrichment is there, then you are content. When you are content, you are more able then to turn and serve humanity. It's like almost every day we get on a plane and we hear the same thing. Put the oxygen mask on you before you help your neighbor, your child. Same thing. We need to have containment, contentment, strong nervous system, strong glandular system, mental capacity, intuition, all to serve humanity. We can't do it if we're limping with crutches, half blind, bumping into walls, completely imbalanced. We have to be completely the best package we can be in order to serve the best.
Exactly. So actually, before we even started this podcast, we took a couple minutes to do a relaxation exercise.
That's right.
That I think it was so easy and so elegant. I'd love you to share it with our listeners. So
Sure.
now understand that we're doing this also as a video. So some people are having the benefit of being able to see this,
Yes.
and some people are just going to be listening. So I'm counting on you for
Okay.
great description here.
Well, this very simple breathing exercise is done when you want to calm yourself down, and it's so simple. Basically, you just block off your right nostril with your right thumb, close your eyes down like I'm doing right now, and just breathe. Inhale through the left nostril and exhale through the left nostril. And if you can do that for 1 minute, ideally it's 3 minutes would be a great time frame. Then the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, which is your relaxation response. So that is just one simple breath you can do. Likewise, if you wanted to increase your alertness, if you were falling asleep, or, you know, have you ever been into on a lecture and you're sitting there and you're going, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have eaten those carbs for lunch. Do the opposite if you can, like this. Nobody will notice. Block your left nostril and maybe if you're in public, just hide it a little bit. Breathe through the right nostril only, again for 3 minutes, and you will become more alert, more energized. And there's lots of little tricks like that in the breathing world.
You know, that is so brilliant. I can imagine one of the places that people will be able to use that really effectively is in the car. You know, so people either get really stressed out driving,
Yeah.
or they get really tired driving.
Yeah.
And or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like you said, after the lunch or carbs or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's hugely practical. And I love the thing that made me so interested in having this interview with you. One of the things was that there's a scientific foundation behind these practices that you're sharing with us that I was never aware of.
Well, yoga is a science. And, you know, Kundalini Yoga is 5,000 years old, and it was considered the kind of the mother of all yogas. And it's called yoga of awareness. So Kundalini Yoga is designed to give you awareness, independence, strength, endurance, and intuition very quickly. The idea of why I devoted my life to Kundalini Yoga is because it takes less time to get to the same result. So you can either take, you know, a beautiful winding road, or you can take the expressway and you get to the same place. But in this day and age, I need to take the expressway.
I'm right there with you. I think so many of us want quick results, right?
Well, we don't have time for anything else. If
That's
I had
right.
all day to, you know, to devote, but I have basically, I do maybe 40 minutes of Kundalini Yoga a day. Sometimes I do 10 minutes, but I can know I've got exercises that can charge your glandular system and stimulate you so you're awake and energized and ready for the day and focused, which is very good. You know, a lot of people that I talk to are suffering from two things, stress and fatigue. And those two things I address directly with breathing and a few exercises.
So you just gave us one exercise, well, 2 exercises, one for energizing and one for relaxing, that are very simple and easy to implement. You said you do yoga 40 minutes a day, sometimes 10 minutes. For someone to be able to get a result, because I know even finding 15 minutes a day to meditate can be really challenging for people. So what is something that people could do that would enhance their lives in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or maybe even less a day?
Sure. Well, and what I wanted to do is I'll explain it, but I'll do a video and we can post it on your website because it really does take a little bit of instruction.
Okay.
And again, it's a lot of things are the breath. It's very incorporated. The thing that
give me 1 second here. I just want to let everybody know that on the website, sustainabilitynow.global, we have a podcasts page for every podcast, every episode that we broadcast. So at sustainabilitynow.global, we'll have a podcast page, and Guru Simran's agreed to do a couple videos for us because obviously not all of you are seeing this video. So you can go there and see the videos and get the instruction, and that'll be up there for the duration. So let's go back. Thank you for that, by the way.
That's fine. And you know that, yes. So the videos are going to show some breath work and a few exercises that you can do sitting in a chair. The thing about the breath is that as you practice these breathing techniques that is going to help strengthen your nervous system, stimulate your glandular system, which are your guardians of health. And remember, if you're not healthy, you're not working on a full deck of cards. So you've got to have your glands secreted. And forgive me. Oh, is that from you or from me?
That's here, the siren. Yeah.
So these are the things, this breath is so important. It brings in what we call prana, which is life force. In Kundalini Yoga, we emphasize increasing the prana through breathing techniques. And when you look at these videos and start practicing it, nothing to do with flexibility, nothing to do with age, nothing to do with weight. Everybody can do it. If you're breathing, you can do it.
I love that. That's great. Benefits. I think most of us can fulfill that criteria. Can I ask you, before we get into the actual techniques, can I ask you, what is it that distinguishes Kundalini Yoga?
Well, Kundalini Yoga is different because it incorporates a certain posture of the physical body, along with a certain breath and a certain sound current, all together simultaneously. And this presents a certain effect in the body. So everything is angles. For instance, if you raise your arm 60 degrees like this is working on the heart and the lungs. Now we'll do a breath like this, and I'm not going to show you the breath because I'll show it to you in the video. It's a little more complicated. If you're lying on your back and you raise your legs 30 degrees, again, another angle, it's working on the navel, which is your third chakra. And we can go over those chakras. So what that's working on is your willpower, your will to accomplish tasks. So yoga is filled with angles in all yoga, but in Kundalini Yoga, we incorporate a certain breath and a certain sound current or mantra to all produce one effect. And there are about 2,000 different kriyas. We have a kriya for elevation. We have several for elevation. We have a kriya for the lungs. We have a kriya for inner anger, self-animosity. We have a kriya for the negative mind or the positive mind. We have a kriya for intuition. There's so many, which makes it exciting because when you come to class, you're going to get a different class each time, which is nice.
Well, and it's obviously a lifelong study with 2,000 kriyas.
Yeah, you'll never get to the end.
Right.
And you can practice one kriya for 40 days, which is creating a habit. And that can actually be very powerful if you do one kriya for 40 days or one meditation for 40 days. It will bring on change.
Wow. You know what I love about what you're saying is that it can accommodate so many different levels of commitment.
Yeah.
So there are certain practices that we can just implement on an as needed basis, yes, or we can make a larger ongoing practice and discipline of it.
Yes.
So that's beautiful to know that you can benefit at any level.
Yes, exactly. And you can use these breath techniques at a stop sign, a red light. You can use them when you're ready to punch out your boss or your employee. Say, okay, I need to do that one that's going to settle me down.
So can you give us another something that we can describe
Yes.
So that the listeners will have a sense of what it really is without having to see the video, maybe?
Well, you could do what we call a segmented breath,
Okay.
which is 4 inhales, but in one, they're called segmented. So it's like, imagine a balloon getting fuller, 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 fuller in 4 different, and then exhale in 4 steps too. Exhale, 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 exhale. That's one breath, but in segmented little shots. That brings on clarity and focus for the mind.
Now, there's a distinction about how to breathe that you've given me.
Yes, yes.
And I think it would be really valuable to share that.
Sure. So a lot of people don't breathe correctly. It's just they've started breathing a certain way and nobody ever told them that this isn't really a great way to breathe. And I don't even want to tell you how to breathe incorrectly. So let me tell you how to breathe correctly.
Excellent.
Any breath you take is an expansion inhale and a contraction exhale. Any breath, even if it's a tiny little breath. So the longer, the deeper the breath, the more impact it has on your body and your mind. But the breath itself is an inhale into the tummy area, into the abdominal area, So as you're inhaling, I always tell my students to imagine a balloon inside their tummy. And it's expanding as you inhale, nice and slow. Then you inhale the lungs. And then you exhale, you just reverse it. You exhale out of the lungs, but then hold your hands on your tummy and exhale, pull the tummy in towards the spine so it's deflated. This is the proper breath. Each inhale is expanding the tummy. Each exhale, tummy goes in. So you always breathe into the tummy.
And what's the benefit of breathing into the tummy versus the chest?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There are so many benefits for breathing into the stomach. It affects the nervous system right away. It brings oxygen into the brain, oxygen in all the blood cells. It calms you. It actually feeds the brain better than when you just breathe into the chest. It works on the digestion. I mean, really, it's actually the way to breathe. The body needs that breath. It's amazing that the body can adapt to less than what it really needs. If it only gets a little breath, it seems to, live. But sooner or later, the organs break down sooner. The brain loses its function. Long, deep breathing, especially, as a practice or just as a conscious breath that you do every day, is going to feed your whole body. And you might not notice it when you're 20 or 30, but you'll start to notice stuff when you're over 50.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to, starting today, you want to practice, even if it's 3 minutes, practice that conscious breath. We call it conscious breath, which means you're consciously imagining the breath coming down, filling up your tummy, and really consciously breathe as big as you can, and then exhale and do the same thing on your exhale. See, normally we only breathe 15% of what our lungs can take.
Did you say 1-5 or 5-0?
1-5.
That's remarkable.
And if you're under stress, it's even less. And that's what's so remarkable. The body will stay alive, but things will start to break down as we age because of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So breath is huge, even though we take it for granted.
So one of the other things you mentioned was that there are 3 components to Kundalini. There's the breath, there's the mantra, and there's the angles or the position. Mm-hmm. So if we were to be trying to do this on the most simple level possible to get a result, you've told us about breathing into the abdomen. So we have a start there. What else can we do? How can we add the mantra and the position?
Right. Well, it's the best way for me to show is I can show you some beginner moves that you can do. As I said, sitting on the floor or sitting in a chair. The mantra is extremely powerful because it directly impacts the mind. And as we all know, the mind can be heaven or hell, right?
Yep.
So mantra, which is sound current, actually can change the state of mind very quickly, along with the breath and along with the exercise. Now, if you can also just sit and do a meditation without doing the physical yoga.
Okay, great.
You know, that's what I usually do after the physical yoga, along with the breathing. Then we'll do a meditation. Now, a wonderful, easy meditation to do is using the sound current, Sat Nam. Sat, S-A-T. That translates to mean truth. Nam is my identity, like name. So Sat Nam means truth is my identity.
And
that's
beautiful.
It's wonderful, and it's so easy. How that affects one's mind is that it builds like a seed. Every time you repeat it, the seed grows bigger and bigger until there is a connection with your Sat Nam, with your truth, with your inner core. And I sometimes compare it to the egg and the yolk. So the white part of the egg is your personality, maybe your insecurities and your complexes and your neuroses. We all have that stuff. And the yellow part is the Sat Nam, the purity. That is, funny enough, it's the same with all of us. It's the same yolk. The difference is the white part, how we present ourselves to the world. Which masks do we wear? How do we wear them? How do we learn to manipulate? How do we learn to cover for our insecurities? These are all things that are not the yoke, but the insecurities of how we feel we have to behave. And we've learned how to maybe manipulate. We've learned how to get by, maybe at 2 years old. And we've still takes this kind of mindset into our adulthood and use it maybe for different props, but the same reason. So connecting to our inner core is actually a huge part of being contained and content.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Yeah.
And the more connected we are to that universal energy, the more capable we are of being in service.
And the more we can tap into our unlimited potential.
Exactly.
And our creative energy that's connected to the infinite energy. Our intuition can be just like a streamline. We can
be more present to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because all the other stuff is like static. You know, and if we, you can pray and pray, and if you've got all this static around you, it doesn't receive, it doesn't go out and beam back because of the static of our negative self-talk, maybe self-animosity. Inner anger is a big issue. Over the 38 years that I've been working with students, some of it's unrecognizable or unaware, but most people carry some sort of anger, and most of that anger has been established in childhood.
Yeah.
And is turned into self-animosity. Because a child who hasn't been respected and honored in any other form of negativity blames him or herself. I'm not loved because I don't deserve to be loved. I'm not loved because I'm stupid. I'm not loved because I'm fat. I'm not loved because I'm ugly. Whatever message they receive, they took that as truth. Even though they can logically reason as adults, it's still there. So a lot of what I do is through this yoga and through meditation, we start to break down the patterns in the brain that's been developed. We start to clear out that subconscious mind that are holding those beliefs. And for me, it's very, very effective to use this breathing and the meditation and the physical yoga together.
I wanted to say also that something that I so appreciate about this practice is that it's non-dogmatic. It's
Yes.
practical. It's not sectarian. It crosses all boundaries. It's really just
yoga is that way. All yoga is that way. It's a physical, it's a science, and it's used to union, you know, yoga means union. So it's union with yourself and the infinite.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Would you do us a favor? Would you demonstrate the mantra for us?
Sure. So if you want to sit straight, if you're at home or not if you're driving, right?
Not a good thing to do while you're driving.
But you can actually still inhale and chant Satnam. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our palms together like this, and this balances the left and the right hemispheres of the brain.
So let me just say that like this, for those that are listening, is sort of in a prayer position where your palms are touching each other and your fingers are stretched upward in the prayer position.
Exactly. And you can touch the side of your thumbs to your heart center. So you're touching your body.
And the heart center is just mid-chest. It's not over your physical heart, but in mid-chest.
Exactly. Your heart center is right in between the chest. And what we're going to do is, if you're not driving, you can close your eyes, and we're going to take a deep inhale. And then as we exhale, we're going to chant Sat. And then at the very end, we chant Nam. So just follow me and follow along. Inhale deeply. Sat Nam. We'll do two more. Inhale. Sat Nam. Last one. Sat Nam. Now, once again, inhale deeply. And I want you to just suspend your breath, hold your breath, and press the palms together. Keep your eyes closed. Press the palms together tightly. This stimulates the heart meridian. Hold the breath. And now release that pressure and exhale and relax. And just relax now. And just that. We only did it for 3 times, but if you did it for 3 minutes, you would notice that your breath elongates. The inhale gets deeper and the exhale gets longer. So the Sat increases. And just try it. You know, Kundalini Yoga is not about belief. It's about experience. That's why we call it the yoga of self-awareness. Try it and see for yourself what changes comes through. Try it for 3 minutes. Try it for 11 minutes. We have these different times. And the 3 minutes is the minimum because that starts the blood changing. 11 minutes goes into your nervous system and your glandular system. So 11 minutes is wonderful, but at least 3 minutes. 31 minutes works on the negative and positive and neutral mind, which we haven't discussed, but it starts to balance the mind along with the blood and the glands. 2.5 hours, your gray matter changes.
Wow. Now that sounds interesting. Your gray matter changes in what way?
Well, what it starts to do is it starts to, what happens is that as the mantra that you're chanting, it starts to erase the patterns of the negativity. Now, some mantras are different than others, but it starts to move the gray matter. It starts to, they had made studies, actually it was at Harvard, I believe, on meditation and mantra. So yes, 2.5 hours is a long time, and that's why I always encourage people, hey, 3 minutes, you will feel differently in 3 minutes. Check it out. And that's what fits. Sometimes we don't have 2.5 hours, but we have 3 minutes. Don't we have 3 minutes?
For sure, for sure. So let me just ask you, because there are 2,000 variations, what kind of resources would you recommend to folks so that they could learn more? You have your website, so give us your website address. This will be posted on the podcast page at sustainabilitynow.global, as will whatever resources you recommend.
Yeah. So my website is light, L-I-G-H-T, 2, which is the number 2, light, L-I-G-H-T.net. And other resources, I highly recommend spiritvoyage.com. That's a big site that you will get a lot of Kundalini Yoga books and a lot of music and mantras. It's quite helpful. And then you can go to what we call KRI, Kundalini Yoga Institute. And if you just type in Google KRI Institute, it should come up. You're looking for Kundalini Yoga Institute. No, okay. I'm sorry, Kundalini Research Institute.
Got it.
Sorry, KRI.
That's great. Okay.
And that will give you all the information you're looking for. It will talk to you about what I've been involved with for 38 years. And a lot of YouTubes are out there too. Kundalini Yoga, YouTube, you'll get some classes.
Beautiful.
And so it's out there now. When I started back in the dark ages, there was one book with somebody's drawing of a diagram of what to do. And, that's how we started. And now there are books and tapes and videos and all kinds of resources so people can actually learn this yoga at home.
That's awesome.
Or go to a yoga class.
So one of the things that we always ask people is what put you on the path, typically to sustainability, but what put you on this path? And I'm going to just sort of customize that question a little bit by saying, what kinds of transformations have you witnessed also out of this? How did you come to your path? What's changed for you through your life with this that you attribute to this practice?
Well, back in 1978, I was, I had divorced and I was going through a very vulnerable time. And I picked up a book called Biography of a Yogi. And that was my first Eastern philosophy book kind of thing. And I completely ate it up. And I knew that I wanted to live after I finished that book, I began searching for a teacher. And I knew I wanted that yogic lifestyle. I became a vegetarian instantly, no big deal. I can't quit sugar or coffee for a day, no. But I quit meat like so easily, it was unbelievable. But then I started searching because I almost felt like a hole inside of me, emptiness. Like, is this all there is? And when I started reading about the science of yoga and what yoga does, I felt like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want. I want an experience of my sacred self. I want an experience of my divinity. I don't want to see myself as a broken person. I want to see myself as whole. And I want to be part of that divine. I want to I want to be the lover of my divinity. So all of this really appealed to me. I grew up Catholic and that was fine, but I was looking for something more. for an experience. You know, I didn't want to just be inspired. I wanted to experience a change in myself. So I did start practicing Hatha Yoga, and I did go to several different groups that were out there, the Sufis, all wonderful. And then I just happened to drop into a Kundalini Yoga class that Yogi Bhajan was teaching. Yogi Bhajan is the founder of, brought the teachings to the West. And after class, he came to me and he said, do you practice yoga? And at the time I was actually teaching Hatha Yoga. And I said, yes, I teach Hatha Yoga. And he said, the only difference is that this yoga is faster. It gets you there faster. That's the only difference. And I thought, well, that works for me because I like things fast and instant. So after studying it, though, for 38 years, I realized it was more than just fast. It's extremely deep and sophisticated. But it is fast because you can teach somebody a mudra, which is a hand movement, which again goes into angles and geometry, and a mantra, and have them do it for 3 minutes for 40 days. And they come to me and tell me, wow, that changed everything. So I know it works. I've done it and I've seen other people do it. And how it changes you, it just makes you more you. See, some of us are walking around without realizing there is a yolk inside of all of it. We're just concentrating on the white and that's all we have. As you practice this little yolk inside of you gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yes, of course you still need your body and you still need your mind to work, but the yolk is so much more part of you than before.
Beautiful.
And this is what brought me to this practice. It was practical. And I must say, doing it, I don't have that kind of depression or loneliness. Also, if all kinds of doo-doo happens in my life, I'm okay. And don't we know that doo-doo happens all the time, right?
Right.
We can't control that. But what we can control is how we feel and how we respond to the doo-doo.
I love it. I have to ask you, particularly because of our times, one of our standard questions is, what kinds of obstacles did you encounter? And as I look at you, one of the things that people will notice most quickly is your turban.
Oh, yes.
And so in these times, I would imagine that you having done this almost 40 years ago, experienced certain responses from people relative to that. And I'd like to ask first, what is it? What does it symbolize for you? And what kinds of encounters have you had, obstacles, and what has happened in you to allow you to overcome those?
Good questions. Well, you know, now there's no challenge, but certainly when I was 29, there was a big challenge because I was, you know, a meow cat. Everything happened for me, you know, a cute little 29-year-old who isn't cute at 29. And then you put on a turban and it totally took away any sexual projection, any, you know, any feminine. I was still feminine, but I didn't look like what a cute girl looked like anymore. And that was hard. That was a challenge. But what it gives you, when I put on a turban, I must say, I looked at myself and I didn't see myself. I just saw infinity. And I don't really know how to describe that other than I felt like I was relating to my soul instead of my hair or my makeup or who I was. And I think I really wanted that. I wanted to experience the truth of who I was. Now, yes, it came with a price. It came with prejudice, discrimination. And that's shocking when you're not used to it. When you're used to being the darling of society because you're a 29-year-old woman, all of a sudden you're cast aside. How did I have the strength to keep up? I think because I put myself in a situation that had support. I lived with the other people who also wore turbans, and we call ourselves Sikhs. Our teacher, Yogi Bhajan, was a Sikh, Now, would I be wearing a turban just because I'm wearing one? No. I put one on and I instantly felt an energy surge up my spine. Besides my projection of how I looked to myself, I also felt energy. I felt very grounded, my focus was there. It was a little uncomfortable when I was younger. I felt a little self-conscious, but I just, dug deep within myself and went through it. And it's no big deal. Of course, now, no, it doesn't matter at all. It's just who I am. But there's a scientific reason for the turban. You don't cut your hair. Hair's got some energy to it. We put it on top of our head, which draws the sun energy down. And when it's coiled on top of the head, it pulls the spinal fluid up the spine. So there's just a science to it. The way the turban crosses the forehead, touches on 2 meridian lines for the brain. And, when you start to ask people when they wear a turban for a while, how do you like it? They say, oh my God, there's such a difference when I take it off to when I put it on. I know it seems really confining, like a girdle, but it actually is feeling like that. It feels like a support. Have you ever put a big band around your waist and felt kind of support around the lower back? Well, in a way, your head feels that way when you put this. It's a cloth, it's cotton, and you tie it a certain way. It feels really grounding is the word I would use.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we look a little different, but that's okay.
That's awesome. Thank you for that answer. And so I have just to ask you now, is there anything else that you want to share today before we wrap up? This has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I can only say that over the years, I have seen so much transformation in people with this technology, and you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. What it can do for you, it gives you you. It gives you your power. It gives you your sense of sovereignty. It gives you a strong intuition so that you don't have to go to find it, go to someone else to ask what to do, that your intuition will guide you. It gives you independence. And it opens up that inner potential that really is who you are. Takes away from all of that static in our subconscious and all our insecurities. And this is really what it does. So I can't, I find that it works fast. It's easy. Anyone can do it. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you're coming from, who you are. You can do a few exercises, which I will share with you on your website, Mira, and people can just do it and get the benefits.
That's so great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've given everybody something that they can take into their lives easily and with very little effort that will make a big difference. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
So just a reminder to everybody who's listening, be sure to check out our website at sustainabilitynow.global. You'll find all the resources we spoke about. GuruSimran is giving us some videos that will help you learn some breathing techniques and get the nuances of them. And I also want to thank you, the listeners, for being out there, joining us, sharing this, and being the force of change in the world. It's without you, where would we be? So I also want to say thank you to our producer, Scott Billy. And that's it for today. I'm your host, Mira Rubin. And until next time, live your best life, love the world around you, and together we can save the world.
Thank you for listening to Sustainability Now, solutions to shape a world that works. Visit sustainabilitynow.global for resources related to today's program. And be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us on social media.